Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Chris Asbrock, and this is another episode of Asbrock's Bengals Thoughts. Wow, that wasn't pretty. Let's just put it out there, plain and simple. I was not at the game today, and I'm going to take a lot of blame for it because that's just I work with that mentality that it was my fault. Very superstitious. We got soccer, so. I coach my son's soccer team, so I'm going to take full responsibility for this butt whooping we received today. And I'm going to go back and say, well, I look like an idiot. If you read my preview for today's game, I picked the Bengals to win 24-20. I simply felt that based off of last week, and if you recall the last video, last week's video recapping the Seattle game, I simply stated, do not get overzealous and, look too much into week one because there's so much that goes into it. Well, it appears I might have done that. The Bengals, obviously, again, moral victories are not a thing that I believe in, but I was really, I hopped on the train. I really felt that this team was going to to do that. Granted, we're 2 weeks in now to the 2019 NFL season. A lot could change. Plain and simple, a lot could change going into this. But a 41-17 defeat to a San Francisco 49ers team that, looking at it going into it, I didn't believe that they were that good. Now, the question is, I'm going to look at it, was this an anomaly? Or is this a preview of what is to come in this season? Now, the Bengals were flat out dominated. Now, Kyle Shanahan is, and looking at the two coaches, obviously both coaches are extremely young. Kyle Shanahan, he's under 40. Zac Taylor's only 36. So, again, both guys are extremely young, and the play calling, Kyle Shanahan's always had a good reputation of being a solid play caller offensively. Well, that's what he did, because the way the plays that were called by the San Francisco 49ers today made things look like, and I heard on the radio today that they were saying that it looked like they basically had hacked into the Bengals computer system, and looked at exactly what they were going to run defensively, because everything that the 49ers ran worked out to perfection for them. They could do anything they wanted, and that's not what I expected. The Cincinnati Bengals came into this with a solid defensive performance, I thought, from week one. And, last year they had one of the worst defenses in the league. And that reared its ugly head again today. I just, looking at it, I'm going through the game book here. They gave up 42 rushes for the San Francisco 49ers, and they 259 yards rushing on 42 attempts. That's an average of 6.2, and they gave up 2 touchdowns on the ground. And the Bengals could only muster 25 yards on the ground on 19 carries. So that right there is, if you are giving up 259 yards on the ground, which, it's stunning to me, then, you're not going to win many football games. Jimmy G, I've never felt that Jimmy G was, I never felt he was not a star quarterback, but I didn't think that he was a great quarterback. Let's put it that way. And he was 17-25 for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's not too bad. Jimmy G was, he was on it today. Andy Dalton on the other side, 26-42 for 311 yards. Dalton was sacked 4 times for 20 yards. Here's the thing. Jimmy G did not take a sack. Guys, you're not going to, compared to last week when the Bengals were completely harassing Russell Wilson all game, they were in the backfield all the time. That wasn't the case this week. It was just simple, we're just going to line up and and take it to you. And, you know, Jimmy G spreads the ball around to, looks like 8 different receivers. Well, Pettis threw, he was 1 for 1 for 16 yards, so that was a little trick play there. But Jimmy G had a quarterback rating of 131.2. Andy Dalton, again, 26 of 42 for 311 yards, sacked 4 times for 20 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception for a quarterback rating of 90.5. One of the touchdowns he threw was a 66-yard touchdown pass to John Ross, who, once again, you know, he makes things happen, but that was in garbage time. But still, the Bengals continue to play, and they were going to, you know, they were going to continue to fight and go forward. And that I like seeing that. That's something that is crucial to me. Your team never gives up, and that's what I want to see. You know, Tyler Boyd was the man receiving today. 10 targets, he received all 10 of them for 122 yards. That's 12.2 yards per reception. For his longest was 47. John Ross and Tyler Eifert were the 2 that did receive, that did have touchdowns there. But, you know, it's just, this is just not what, you know, not what I expected. I mean, I really, I'm not gonna lie, I was, you know, I really didn't want to do this video, but just because it was ugly. And you know, when I got back from the soccer game, I turned it on, and I kept looking at my phone. It was a simple, what the hell's going on here? You know, at that point it was 24. I think when I checked it out, it was 24-10, which might have been, you know, that sounds about right. And that was the score at the half. You know, if you look at the drives here, the 49ers, you know, they go 4 plays, 51 yards in 1 minute and 44. And that was Jimmy G chucking it up to Marquise Goodman for 38 yards. And that, you know, puts him up, you know, with 11:21 to go. You know, you're automatically, you know, you're right behind the 8 ball there. And then, you know, the Bengals go 9 plays, 69 yards, 4 minutes and 38 seconds off the clock to respond. Tyler Eifert, a 1-yard pass from Andy Dalton. And then it seemed like the wheels fell off, because then right after that, the 49ers get the ball, right. You know, they get the ball back and they go 8 plays, 84 yards in 4 minutes and 7 seconds and to take the lead. Mostert with a 39-yard reception, touchdown reception from Jimmy G. And then, you know, so at the end of the first quarter, you're down 14-7, and you think, okay, you know, you're down. It was a back and forth. You know, teams they were scoring. But then that's kind of when the wheels fell off, because, you know, the Bengals get where the Niners get the ball, you know, they go 6 plays, 58 yards, or 58 yards, in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And, you know, Wilson punches it in from 2 yards out, and it's already 21-7. And the only thing you can muster on a 10-play, 61-yard drive is a 37-yard field goal from Randy Bullock. So you're down 21-10. But then, you know, the Niners come right down 10 plays and 52 yards in 1 minute and 12. And then with 2 seconds left, Robbie Gould, 33-yard, you know, field goal, and he's not going to miss from there. And you find yourself down 24-10 at the half in a game that, like I said, I felt this team was going to win. I really did. I felt that I did. I felt they were going to win. I guess I you know, I drank the Kool-Aid. You know, plain and simple. I felt that this team was going to dominate, but, you know, just, like I said, it's just coming off of, you know, what I saw from last week. And, you know, I felt that the Bengals, I thought that this team was going to respond, you know, at home in the very first game of the Zac Taylor era at Paul Brown Stadium. It seemed like, you know, things were going to go their way. And unfortunately, they just didn't. And, you know, now you're behind the 8 ball. You're 0-2. Luckily, the Steelers lost again, so you're tied with them. Baltimore, you know, who I felt was going to be one of the top teams, you know, looking forward to the playoffs. I still feel the Browns are going to win the division. God only knows what happens with them as they move forward in their game tomorrow night on Monday Night Football. But, right now the Ravens look like they're the cream of the crop here in the AFC North. Obviously, the Bengals and Steelers are going to be battling for, the basement if they continue to play like they are. It's just, it's stunning. Now, I can't imagine that the Bengals are going to be in that bad of shape. I'm going to look here and see if I can find the Buffalo. Let's see, what did they do today? They played the Giants, and they knocked off the Giants 28-14. That's what I didn't get a chance to see that before, but so a 28-14 victory over the New York Giants. So Buffalo is now, they're already ahead of you. And that game's in Buffalo. And I felt going into the Monday night game, the Bengals would be 2-1 going forward. And now 1-2 is, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one to digest if you're able to get over the hump and knock off the Buffalo Bills. Now, let's be honest, guys. The Cincinnati Bengals are not going to play as bad as they did today next week. They're going to rebound. Zac Taylor is, I still have all the faith in the world. My question again is, I'm going to go back to, how I feel about it. Was this an anomaly? Or is this the preview of what we're going to see? Now, things are obviously going to change when A.J. Green comes back. The thing that does concern me, obviously, the injuries on the offensive line. That's the problem. There's a lot of problems with that. Michael Jordan was injured on today. Hopefully Cordy Glenn can come back. That worries me a little bit. The simple fact that he's got the concussion he's been ruled out against. That's 2 straight weeks of the regular season he's been out. That concerns me. I don't like seeing head injuries are nothing to mess with, and that's what we're kind of teetering on that. On that fine line there of, hopefully, Cordy Glenn can rebound and get himself good again so where he can come back for Buffalo next week. Their offense is obviously going to change when A.J. Green does come back. That's another weapon that Andy Dalton's going to have. The big concern obviously was the offensive line. We didn't know what to expect, but they were going to struggle, and that's what we were curious to see how that was going to come out and play out moving forward. So this one's a little stunning. You just kind of go through, you look at the way the way the quarters played out. The Bengals seemed to trade, they were just trading field goals for touchdowns. You're down 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. You're down 24-10 at the end of the half. End of the third quarter, it's 34-10, and then you give up another touchdown to make it 41-10 before you're able to to equalize in terms of the score in the quarter when on that John Ross 66-yard touchdown reception from Andy Dalton. That was with 45 seconds left. So, again, that's in garbage time there. But, again, team wasn't going to give up, and that I like to see. There's a pride factor in there. Another thing that surprised me, and my dad, he did go to the game, and, he obviously said there wasn't a lot of people there. They're showing paid attendance of 50,666. So that's a little rough. So I'm curious, what everyone's thoughts are, on that. But, you look at in the final individual statistics here from NFL.com, in the official game book, Joe Mixon, he was questionable coming in with the ankle injury. Thank goodness he played. So that's good to see. He had 17 yards rushing on 11 attempts, and his longest was 9 yards. So that right there is a little sketchy. Gio Bernard, 6 attempts, and he only had 6 yards. So you have to credit the defensive line of the Niners, who DeForest Buckner, D Ford, obviously Nick Bosa. Those are some of the guys that they played. Let me look here at the tackle statistics here. These guys, they did. Let's look here. We pull it up here. They were making some tackles, and the Niners. They only had Not one single player had more than 7 tackles for the Bengals, and that's combined. That's obviously tackles plus assists. You look at Preston Brown, he had 14 tackles today. 4 solo, he assisted on 10. Jesse Bates, 6 solo tackles, 4 assists. So he had those two, Preston Brown and Jesse Bates, were in double digits. Sean Williams had 8 solo tackles and 1 assisted, so he had 9 total tackles. That's saying a lot right there. I mean, you can't, it should look like the 49ers defense in the way, the combination should not be in double digits. Those guys, Preston Brown's a tackling machine. Obviously, we didn't see it a lot last year, and I think there was a lot of factors that went into that. But Preston Brown, I think he's a solid, linebacker, and I think he's going to continue to be that machine that we came to expect in his NFL career, and that's obviously we saw that today. 14 combined tackles. That's unbelievable. The thing that did concern me, we were not in the backfield. That concerns me. We were not in the backfield at all for Jimmy G to pressure. I mean, there was he's not under duress at all. And again, any play that they ran, they came away with very little consequences. They were gonna run what they felt, and they ran what they wanted, and they did what they wanted to us. And that's a little concerning when you give up 572 net yards, compared to Bengals only were able to get 316 net. Your average gain per play was 8.4 for the 49ers compared to 4.9 for the Bengals. You average 8.4 yards, per gain on an offensive play. Folks, you're going to win a lot of football games that way, and that's what happened here. Looking at third down conversions, the Bengals were 33% last week. They held Seattle to only 4 of 12 on conversion. The Niners, 5 of 9 for it's 56% on third down efficiency. That's stats damning anyway. That they only faced 9 third downs this entire game. Again, you're not going to run into too many third downs when you're averaging 8.4 yards per offensive play. The Bengals were 9 of 18, so they were in third downs a lot. They had 2 fourth downs where they were only 1 of 2 on. It's and looking at the stats, it's just average gain per pass play, 12 point yards passing per average pass play from the 49ers. So they were, again, that's rough. I mean, I'm looking back and I'm still stunned, reading the statistics. I mean, you watch the game and I was able to catch a good amount of it before I left, but it's stunning to me, and it's a damning statistic how bad it was today for the Bengals. Now, is this one of those games to where you throw away the tape and say, screw it, and let's look forward to Buffalo? Or do you really take a look back and try and figure out what's going to go on? Because, moving forward now, the Bengals schedule's tough. I mean, if you look at it, it's a tough schedule. You got Buffalo next week. Then you come home, you're on the road, and then you go to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football on the 30th. And then you come back home for, for the Arizona Cardinals. And then, so looking at what the Cardinals did today, the Cardinals fell to Baltimore in a pretty good game. Baltimore, again, they're a tough, they're a tough team. So, again, it's, there's a lot to really question moving forward in this game and what's going to play out. I'm still stunned at how bad it looked, but I'm not going to completely give up because there's no point if you're only 2 games into the season. When AJ Green comes back, that's going to change a lot. It's just that's an all-pro weapon that Andy Dalton's going to have at his disposal. But one thing is, clear, the depth on the offensive line is pretty bad. If Michael Jordan is out, I haven't seen any updates on him and how long he might be out, but it was a knee injury. You obviously got Jonah Williams out, for the season, so that's tough. But now, how's it going to play out with the depth? There's not a lot of, offensive line depth, and they haven't been very good. So, how is this going to play out? What's Zac Taylor going to do to get this team back? There was a lot of hype coming into this game, and like I said, I fed into it. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I really thought that the team would do it. Obviously, I was wrong. It's going to happen. I just think that I don't think this is an anomaly. I think that this team they've got the talent. I will die on that hill stating that this team has enough talent to continue to move on and take care of teams in front of them. I think that they have a lot of talent in the skill positions. Offensively, they have to get the rushing game going. If you cannot get the running game going, you're in for one hell of a battle. Luckily, last week Andy Dalton was able to fire the ball around for as much as he did. This week, obviously, when you only gain, 25 net yards rushing, you're not going to win too many games. When you have the league's, the AFC's leading rusher from last year in Joe Mixon, and he hasn't done really much this year, you really kind of start to question what's going to be, what it's going to look like moving forward. Now, obviously, Zac Taylor coming from Sean McVay's system. A lot of people thought that this was going to look like the LA Rams offense. Now, it still could. You would look at Joe Mixon like a Todd Gurley in that role and getting a lot of carries and a lot of positive yards there. But, and looking at Andy Dalton, and I will say, I'm tired of people shredding Andy Dalton. Look at his stats, this year. I mean, he's chucking the ball around for over 700 yards already. What more can you ask for from the guy? He's under duress. He's been sacked 4 times for 20 yards. I don't care who you throw back there behind center or under center or in the backfield. You're not any quarterback that's going to be under a lot of pressure is going to struggle. Plain and simple. Jimmy G, I think Andy Dalton's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, but when Jimmy Garoppolo is not under duress and he's not even sacked at all, he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns, if not more. He's going to have a passer rating of 131. Hell, it's going to happen. This has been a problem. This was a problem last year. It was going to be a problem this year, but the way they played last week against Jadeveon Clowney, you had to expect. But the offensive line did a pretty good job last week, and they didn't do that good of a job this week. It's going to happen, But this is where those issues have to be fixed, plain and simple. And that's what I'm curious. I'm not going to jump off. I'm not going to jump off the bridge here in this case because it's 2 games. We're 2 games in. I still am going to look back at the first week as what this team can do. If they play like they did against, in the rest of the season, if they play like they did against the Seahawks, guys, they're going to have a heck of a lot more wins than they are losses, plain and simple. That's going to happen. It just comes down to them actually playing like that. They did not play like that last week. Or, they didn't play like they did last week. They didn't play like that today. So they obviously played a lot worse. So, again, it is what it is. I'm not going to jump off the bridge. It's only a 2-game sample size here. Obviously, you can't throw the preseason into it. It makes no sense to do any of that. But you have to look at, and the entire package here more than just 2 games. So, let's give it a couple games and we're going to see exactly how it's going to play out. Again, I'm not happy with what I saw. Nobody should be. I know Zac Taylor's not happy. The players aren't happy. The fans aren't happy. I know the organization's not happy. You don't want to come out and play like that in your home opener, plain and simple. I don't think that's going to be the case. It's just not. Maybe the 49ers are a hell of a lot better than what we thought, and I know they're a hell of a lot better than what I thought. But then again, a lot of that, the defense has to step back up, and they have to play like we expect them. They have talent on that offensive line, or the defensive line, and defensive secondary, etc. They have to play like that. They have to get it done. If they do, they play like they did last week against the Seahawks. Guys, you're going to see a lot more positive things come out of these Bengals games. Until then, it's not worth, getting this fired up, because I don't know if this is a preview to the year or if this is just an anomaly and just one game you can throw away. We don't know yet. There's still more football to play, guys. We're only 2 games in. This team's not going to go 0-16. I'll bet my life on that. They're not going 0-16. The talent is still there to at least be a 7-9 football team, and that would be a big victory based off of what we've seen the last 2 games. I didn't expect them to start off 0-2. No, I don't think too many people did. They did, so it is what it is. Let's not get overzealous and get all flustered over one bad game. Again, if this turns into 3 or 4 straight bad games, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Until then, it's not worth it, guys. This is just one game right now. Let's take a look at the way everything comes out. We'll see the injuries, what they look like moving forward as we get ready to face the Buffalo Bills next week, on the road. So let's take a look at that. Again, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. We'll see how it all plays out and what this Bengals team can do moving forward. Again, they're not going to come out and play like this against the Buffalo Bills next week. It just won't happen. I can promise you that. And I know Zac Taylor he's hell-bent on that, and I know the players are hell-bent on that. So, again, let's take a step back, take a deep breath. Again, it's not going to be as bad as it was today. Okay. So with that being said, again, I thank you guys as always for your support. Make sure you check me out on Twitter at @IamChrisAsbrock. And make sure you check out feeltheimpactsports.com and my stuff. I do a college football preview every week. And this audio will also be on my Anchor podcast. So if you want to check out just the audio version of this, make sure you check out anchor.fm /Chris Asbrock, and make sure you check me out there. As always, thank you guys for your support, and I will see you next week to discuss the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Buffalo Bills next weekend. You guys have a good one. Take care, and we'll see ya.